Hi, I'm Jessica, 38, and my daughter Chloe is the most dedicated 12-year-old dancer you'll ever meet. When we arrived at the Regional Youth Dance Championship, everything was on the line. A $5,000 scholarship and an invitation to the national showcase were at stake after 6 years of Chloe's hard work in ballet and contemporary dance. But I never expected my sister-in-law Brenda to sabotage us right before the biggest performance of Chloe's life. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and subscribe if you want to hear more stories about family drama and sweet revenge. Let me give you some context about our situation. I was once a dancer myself, pouring my heart and soul into ballet until a devastating knee injury at 19 crushed those dreams forever. I still remember the sound of my ACL tearing during that fateful performance and the months of physical therapy that followed. The doctors made it clear I would never dance professionally again. I had to rebuild my life, find a new path. That's how I ended up getting my degree in accounting, meeting my husband David, and eventually channeling my passion into supporting Chloe. When Chloe was just 4 years old, she started twirling around our living room with a natural grace that caught my attention immediately. Unlike some dance moms who push their children relentlessly, I was careful to nurture her interest without forcing my unfulfilled dreams onto her. I introduced her to a beginner ballet class, and the joy on her face after that first lesson told me everything I needed to know. This was her passion, not just mine. My sister-in-law Brenda entered our lives when she married my brother Mark 8 years ago. From the beginning, there was tension. During their wedding planning, Brenda repeatedly dismissed my suggestions despite Mark asking me to help since I had planned several successful charity galas. She seemed determined to establish dominance in every situation, especially with female family members. I tried to maintain peace for Mark's sake, but Brenda's competitive nature made it difficult. Brenda has twin daughters, Haley and Kaylee, who are 13 now. They started dancing around the same time as Chloe. And while they're talented, they've never quite matched Chloe's natural ability or dedication. This fact seems to be a constant source of irritation for Brenda, who pushes her girls relentlessly. The twins are actually sweet kids when their mother isn't around, sometimes even admiring Chloe's technique during family gatherings. Over the years, Brenda's jealousy manifested in passive-aggressive comments that became increasingly difficult to ignore. "Oh, Chloe's still doing that basic routine Haley and Kaylee mastered that last year." Or, "It's so cute how Chloe tries so hard despite not having the right body type for ballet." I would bite my tongue for family harmony, but each remark stung, especially when Chloe was within earshot. Then came the incidents. Chloe's dance shoes mysteriously disappeared before a recital when Brenda was the only person who had been near her dance bag. We received an accidental text from Brenda giving us the wrong time for a competition, causing us to nearly miss Chloe's performance. Each time, Brenda had a plausible explanation, and Mark would insist she meant no harm. I began to doubt myself. Was I being paranoid? Overprotective? The Grand Prix dance competition changed everything. This wasn't just another recital or minor competition. This was the most prestigious youth dance event in our state, with scouts from elite academies in attendance. Chloe had been invited to compete based on her performance at a qualifying event 3 months earlier, an achievement that fewer than 10% of applicants received. The preparation was intense. Chloe practiced 4 hours daily after school, perfecting every movement of her contemporary ballet routine. We adjusted our family schedule entirely around her training. David took extra shifts at the construction company to cover the entry fees, costumes, and private coaching sessions. I scaled back my accounting work to drive Chloe to and from the studio every day. Even her younger brother Jake, usually absorbed in his video games, started helping around the house more to give Chloe space to practice. Chloe's dance teacher, Ms. Anya Petrova, saw something special in my daughter. "She dances with her soul," Anya told me during one of our parent conferences. "That's something you can't teach." Anya stayed late many evenings to work with Chloe one-on-one, refining the routine until every gesture conveyed the emotional story they wanted to tell. The costume was another major investment. We commissioned a local designer who specialized in dance attire to create a crystal-embellished teal dress that complemented Chloe's choreography perfectly. The $850 price tag made me wince, but David insisted our daughter deserved the best for this opportunity. I still remember Chloe's eyes lighting up during the final fitting, how she spun around watching the fabric catch the light. "I feel like a real dancer," she whispered, and I had to turn away to hide my tears. As competition day approached, Chloe's confidence grew with each practice session. She stopped second-guessing her abilities and embraced the challenging choreography. Even Anya commented on the transformation. "Whatever happens at the competition," she said, "Chloe has already achieved something remarkable." The night before the event, Chloe couldn't sleep from excitement practicing her breathing exercises and visualizing her performance until well past midnight. What none of us knew was that Brenda had been stewing in resentment ever since learning that Chloe had qualified while her twins had not. They would still compete but in a different division with less prestige and smaller prizes. According to my brother Mark, who called me in confidence, Brenda had been obsessively watching videos of previous winners, pushing Haley and Kaylee to practice until they were exhausted and tearful. The competition had become personal for her in a way that went beyond normal parental pride. Competition day arrived with a pre-dawn alarm. I woke Chloe at 5:00 a.m., though I suspect she had barely slept. Her eyes were bright with anticipation as she ate the protein-rich breakfast I had prepared. We had packed most items the night before, meticulously checking everything against Anya's comprehensive list. The crystal-embellished teal dress hung protected in its garment bag, along with Chloe's dance shoes, backup tights, emergency sewing kit, and the extensive hair and makeup supplies. Our morning ritual had a comforting familiarity despite the high stakes. I carefully curled Chloe's chestnut hair, pinning it into the elaborate updo Anya had demonstrated. Chloe sat perfectly still, unusual for an energetic 12-year-old, as I applied the stage makeup that would prevent her features from washing out under the intense lighting. Throughout the process, she practiced her choreography mentally, her fingers subtly moving through the sequences on her lap. "You're going to be amazing today," I told her as I secured the final hairpin. "Just dance like you do in practice, and everything else will take care of itself." "What if I forget something?" Chloe asked, a rare moment of vulnerability breaking through her composed exterior. "Then you'll improvise just like Anya taught you, but you won't forget. You know this routine better than you know your own name." We arrived at the Golden State Convention Center an hour before check-in opened. The parking lot was already filling with cars, dance moms, and dads hustling their children through the massive glass doors. Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with nervous energy. Competitors of all ages warmed up in every available space, some stretching against walls, while others marked through their routines in whispered counts. We located our assigned dressing room, which Chloe would share with 5 other dancers in her division. 2 families were already setting up when we arrived. The Jacksons greeted us warmly. Their daughter Olivia had taken a few master classes with Chloe in the past. The Diaz family was new to us, but their daughter Mia immediately complimented Chloe's hair and offered to share their phone charger if we needed it. The camaraderie among competitors was one of the things I loved most about the dance community. I was hanging Chloe's dress carefully on the provided rack when Brenda burst in with Haley and Kaylee in tow. Her smile seemed excessively bright as she air-kissed my cheeks. "Jessica, Chloe, so wonderful to see you both girls. Say hello to your cousin and aunt." The twins offered shy smiles. They looked exhausted, dark circles visible beneath their stage makeup. I felt a pang of sympathy for them. "Chloe, your hair looks just darling," Brenda continued, her voice carrying across the room so other parents could hear. "We went with a much more sophisticated style for the girls. Of course, the judges in the elite division tend to prefer a more mature presentation." I ignored the implied criticism. "The girls look lovely. Are you in this dressing room too?" "Of course," Brenda replied, claiming the largest corner of the room despite arriving after everyone else. "I specifically requested we share with family. I thought it would be nice for the girls to have their favorite aunt around." For the next hour, things remained surprisingly pleasant. Chloe stayed focused on her warm-up stretches while I organized her accessories. Brenda was uncharacteristically helpful, offering everyone bottled water and complimenting the other girls' costumes. In retrospect, I should have recognized this unusual generosity as a warning sign. As the first call for Chloe's division approached, I helped her into the teal dress. The fabric caught the light beautifully, the crystals creating a subtle shimmer with each movement. Chloe looked at herself in the mirror, her expression serious as she assessed the overall effect. "I need to grab my hairspray from the car," I told her. "I think I left it in the side pocket of my tote. Will you be okay for 2 minutes?" "I'll help her with the zipper," Brenda offered immediately. "The twins are all set, and I know how tricky those costume closures can be." I hesitated, some instinct warning me, but dismissed the feeling as paranoia. Brenda was family after all, and the other parents were present. What could possibly happen? I rushed to the car, found the hairspray, and returned in less than 3 minutes. As I approached the dressing room door, I heard a distinct sound that made my stomach drop, the unmistakable tear of fabric followed by gasps from several people. I pushed open the door to find Chloe standing frozen, her beautiful teal dress now featuring a jagged 6-inch rip along the side seam. Several crystals had detached and scattered across the floor. The damage was substantial and immediately obvious. My daughter's face had drained of all color. Brenda stood behind her, one hand covering her mouth in an exaggerated display of dismay. "Oh no, how clumsy of me. My bracelet must have caught on the fabric when I was helping with the zipper." Our eyes met and she leaned closer to Chloe, whispering just loud enough that I could hear, "Now my girls will win for sure." The smirk that followed removed any doubt about whether this had been an accident. For a moment, the room seemed to spin around me as rage and disbelief competed for dominance. Chloe fled to the bathroom, tears finally breaking through her composed facade. "What did you do?" I demanded, keeping my voice low despite my fury. Creating a scene would only make things worse for Chloe. "It was an accident," Brenda insisted loudly for the benefit of the other parents who were watching uncomfortably. "These things happen at competitions. Maybe it's a sign Chloe isn't ready for this level yet." "This wasn't an accident," I hissed, stepping closer. "I saw your face. You did this deliberately." "Careful, Jessica," she replied, her voice sickly sweet. "You're getting emotional, and that won't help Chloe. Perhaps it would be best if you withdrew from the competition. There's always next year, assuming Chloe sticks with dance that long." I glanced at Haley and Kaylee, who looked mortified by their mother's behavior. They avoided eye contact, fidgeting with their own costumes and whispering to each other. They were good kids caught in an impossible situation. The dress represented hours of work and a significant financial investment, but more importantly, it was part of the performance Chloe had perfected over months of practice. The fabric was specially chosen to complement her movements. The cut was designed to highlight the technical elements of her routine. Without it, she would be at a significant disadvantage if she could perform at all. I gathered the fallen crystals from the floor, examining the torn seam with shaking hands. The rip was strategic, placed where it would be most visible to judges and impossible to ignore, just like Brenda's intentions. I checked my watch with growing panic. Chloe was scheduled to perform in just 2 hours. The competition was running with military precision. There would be no delays or schedule adjustments. 2 hours to somehow salvage a damaged costume that had taken weeks to create. My mind raced through limited options. I called David, who was still on his way to the venue after dropping off our son Jake at a friend's house. "David, we have an emergency," I explained, stepping into the hallway for privacy. "Brenda deliberately damaged Chloe's costume. It's a disaster." "Are you sure it was deliberate?" he asked, the skepticism in his voice only increasing my frustration. "Yes, I'm sure. She practically admitted it. She told Chloe that now her girls would win for sure." I don't even know what to say. "Have you called Mark?" "Mark isn't going to believe me over his wife. I need solutions, not another family argument. How quickly can you get here?" "I'm still an hour out with traffic. What about the emergency kit? Don't you have safety pins or something?" I returned to the dressing room and pulled out the small sewing kit I had packed. With trembling fingers, I attempted to secure the torn fabric with safety pins, but the damage was too extensive. The delicate material continued to separate around the pins, and the missing crystals left noticeable bare patches. Even if I could close the seam, the dress would still look obviously damaged under the stage lights. Some of the other parents offered sympathy and suggestions. Mrs. Jackson had extra fabric tape, but it created visible lumps under the thin material. Mrs. Diaz knew a backstage seamstress, but she was working with another company across town and couldn't arrive for at least 3 hours. Through it all, Brenda pretended concern while subtly emphasizing the gravity of the situation. "Such a shame after all your hard work," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "The judges are so particular about presentation. I remember last year when a girl's costume had just a tiny tear and she was marked down significantly. I wanted to scream at her, but causing a scene would only make things worse for Chloe. I tried calling Anya, Chloe's dance teacher, but she was working with other students from our studio and couldn't answer." As I struggled with the increasingly futile repair attempts, memories of previous accidents flashed through my mind. 6 months ago, Brenda had spilled coffee on Chloe's costume bag at a minor competition. The liquid had somehow soaked through to stain just the sleeve of Chloe's costume. At the time, I had given her the benefit of the doubt. Now the pattern was unmistakable. Chloe finally returned from the bathroom, her eyes red, but her makeup surprisingly intact. What struck me most was her composure. While I was falling apart, my 12-year-old daughter seemed oddly calm. "Mom, it's okay," she said quietly. "It's not okay, sweetheart, but we'll figure something out," I assured her, not believing my own words. How could we possibly fix this in time? The competition officials made an announcement over the loudspeaker. Preliminary rounds for Chloe's division would begin in 90 minutes. The countdown amplified my stress to nearly unbearable levels. I called the closest fabric store only to discover they were closed on Sundays. A local seamstress's voicemail informed me she was out of town for the weekend. Each failed attempt at finding help sent my anxiety spiraling higher. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I seriously considered withdrawing from the competition. The thought of Chloe performing in a visibly damaged costume being judged not on her talent, but on circumstances beyond her control was heartbreaking. Perhaps it would be less traumatic to forfeit than to face certain defeat and possible humiliation. In the background, I could see Haley and Kaylee practicing their routine in a corner of the dressing room. Brenda filmed them proudly on her phone, occasionally glancing in our direction with poorly concealed satisfaction. The twins executed their movements with precision, if not the natural grace Chloe possessed. Their matching crimson costumes were flawless, a pointed contrast to our situation. My stomach churned with nausea. The room felt too warm, too crowded. I couldn't catch my breath properly. Chloe must have noticed my deteriorating state because she suddenly took my hand with surprising firmness. "Mom," she whispered, "trust me for a minute, come with me." I followed her out of the dressing room, too defeated to question where we were going. Chloe led me down a quiet corridor, away from the bustle of competitors and parents, her expression unreadable. Once we were alone in the empty hallway, Chloe turned to face me with a determination I'd rarely seen in her young face. "Mom, relax. I've got this," she said, her voice steady and surprisingly mature. "Honey, I know you're trying to be brave, but the dress is ruined. We need to face facts." Chloe shook her head, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "No, Mom. I literally have this covered." She led me to a bank of lockers where competitors could store additional items. With deliberate movements, she entered a combination and opened one of the doors, pulling out a garment bag I'd never seen before. "What's that?" I asked, confusion temporarily replacing panic. "My backup costume," Chloe replied, unzipping the bag to reveal a stunning purple dress with silver accents and a flowing skirt design. It wasn't identical to the teal creation, but it was equally beautiful and clearly professional quality. I stared at the dress, then at my daughter, unable to process what I was seeing. "Where did this come from? How did you—" "Remember last month when I stayed late with Anya 3 times in 1 week? We weren't just working on choreography." Chloe's expression became serious. "I overheard Aunt Brenda telling the twins she would make sure they won this competition. The way she said it scared me." My heart sank at the realization that my 12-year-old had recognized the threat before I had. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you would have confronted her, and then she would have done something else we couldn't prepare for." Chloe spoke with the pragmatism of someone far beyond her years. "Anya helped me create a contingency plan instead." She explained how her dance teacher Anya had recognized the pattern in Brenda's accidents as well. Together, they had quietly commissioned this alternate costume using money Chloe had saved from birthday gifts and small competition winnings. They had kept it completely secret, knowing that if Brenda discovered the backup plan, she would simply target that costume instead. Anya said proper preparation prevents poor performance, Chloe recited clearly, quoting her mentor. She taught me that in dance and in life, we should always have a plan B. I was simultaneously bursting with pride at my daughter's foresight and maturity, and filled with regret that I hadn't protected her better from Brenda's machinations. A child shouldn't have to develop such defensive strategies against family members. I'm so sorry you had to deal with this, sweetheart, I said, pulling her into a gentle hug to avoid disturbing her competition hair and makeup. I should have seen this coming. Chloe shrugged. It's not your fault. And anyway, she only wins if we let her see us upset. That's what Anya says. I examined the purple dress more carefully. The craftsmanship was excellent, with the same quality as the original teal costume. The color complemented Chloe's coloring beautifully, perhaps even better than the teal had done. The silver accents would catch the stage lights effectively. It's gorgeous, Chloe, but are you sure it works with your choreography? The original dress was designed specifically for your movements. We adjusted some elements of the routine to showcase this dress too. Actually, Anya thinks the flowing skirt might highlight my turns even better. Chloe demonstrated a quick pirouette, the fabric of the purple dress creating a perfect circle around her. As if summoned by our discussion, Anya appeared in the hallway, slightly breathless. I came as soon as I could get away. Did it happen? Just like you predicted, Chloe confirmed. Aunt Brenda ripped the teal dress. I think she caught her bracelet on it deliberately. Anya nodded grimly. I wish I'd been wrong, but after what happened at the spring showcase, I had my suspicions. She turned to me. I'm sorry I kept this from you, Jessica, but we needed to maintain absolute secrecy. If Brenda had seen even a hint of a backup plan in your expression, she would have found a way to counter it. I was momentarily hurt that they hadn't trusted me with the information, but looking at the beautiful alternative costume, I couldn't argue with their results. I understand, and thank you for helping Chloe. Anya smiled. Your daughter is not only talented but incredibly resourceful. This was mostly her idea, you know. Chloe blushed at the praise. So what's our strategy now? She asked. Should we just switch dresses and surprise Aunt Brenda at the last minute? Actually, Anya said with a mischievous gleam in her eye, I think we should maintain the illusion of defeat until the very last moment. Let's have you wear your warm-up clothes right until performance time. Brenda will think you're going on with the damaged dress underneath, or that you found some inadequate substitute. Then right before you perform, you can reveal the purple dress for maximum impact. Chloe grinned. I like that plan, Mom. Looking at their expectant faces, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. The crisis wasn't just manageable. It was turning into an opportunity for Chloe to shine in ways beyond her dancing ability. She was demonstrating resilient strategic thinking and grace under pressure. Let's do it, I agreed, feeling my confidence return. But first, let's have you practice once in the new costume to make sure everything feels right. We found a small, unused practice room where Chloe could test the dress without being observed. She executed several key sequences from her routine, and I was relieved to see that the costume moved beautifully with her. In fact, the rich purple color against the backdrop of her pale skin created a striking visual impact that might actually improve her chances with the judges. It's perfect, I told her truthfully. Even better than the original. Chloe beamed. Then Aunt Brenda did us a favor, didn't she? We returned to the dressing room with Chloe now wearing her warm-up clothes over the purple dress. I carried both garment bags, making a show of handling the one containing the damaged teal dress with obvious concern. As we entered, Brenda immediately looked up, her eyes searching for signs of our distress. Were you able to fix it? She asked with exaggerated concern. We're going to try, I replied vaguely, allowing my expression to convey resigned disappointment. Chloe will perform regardless. Brenda's lips curved into a smile she quickly masked with a sympathetic nod. That's the spirit. Sometimes it's about the experience rather than winning. Chloe sat quietly in a corner, pretending to mentally rehearse while avoiding conversation. The other competitors continued their preparations, occasional glances of sympathy directed our way. The Jacksons and Diazes had been kind, offering assistance and encouragement without pressing for details about our solution. The competition officials announced that Chloe's division would begin in 15 minutes. Competitors were instructed to move to the staging area. It was time for our plan to unfold. I knelt beside Chloe for a final pep talk, keeping my voice low. Remember everything Anya taught you. Dance with your heart, not just your feet. No matter what happens with the judging, I am so incredibly proud of you. Thanks, Mom, she whispered back. I'm not nervous anymore. I'm excited to show Aunt Brenda and everyone else what I can do. We gathered our things and headed toward the staging area. Brenda and the twins walked ahead of us, the girls moving with the precision of well-trained dancers. Their crimson costumes were beautifully made, and I had to admit they looked impressive. Brenda kept glancing back clearly, waiting for Chloe to remove her warm-up clothes and reveal the damaged teal dress. The twins' division was called first. They performed a synchronized jazz routine that showcased their technical skills admirably. The choreography was complex, featuring multiple turns and impressive leaps that they executed with precision. The audience applauded enthusiastically, and the judges made notes with neutral expressions. Their performance was objectively good, though perhaps lacking the emotional connection that distinguished truly exceptional dancers. Brenda stood at the side of the stage, beaming with pride. As the twins exited, she intercepted them with hugs and effusive praise. Perfect girls, absolutely perfect. The judges were clearly impressed. She made these comments loudly as Chloe passed by, heading to the wings for her imminent performance. With a smug smile, Brenda added, "The competition this year isn't as strong as we expected, is it?" Chloe pretended not to hear, maintaining her focus. We had timed everything precisely. She would remove her warm-up clothes only moments before taking the stage, giving Brenda no opportunity to interfere again. As the announcer called Chloe's name, I gave her a final hug. "This is your moment, sweetheart." With perfect timing, Chloe shed her warm-up clothes, revealing the stunning purple dress in all its glory. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Several nearby competitors gasped at the unexpected transformation. Anya, who had positioned herself strategically nearby, quickly helped adjust the dress and gave Chloe a final reassuring nod. I turned just in time to witness Brenda's reaction. Her jaw literally dropped, her eyes widening in stunned disbelief. She recovered quickly, composing her features, but the momentary shock had been unmistakable. I allowed myself a small, satisfied smile before returning my attention to Chloe. My daughter walked onto the stage with her head held high, taking her position with calm confidence. As the music began, a hush fell over the audience. From the first movement, it was clear we were witnessing something special. Chloe's technique was flawless, her turns crisp and centered, her extensions long and controlled. But it was the artistry beyond the technical elements that truly captivated. She danced with a maturity and emotional depth rarely seen in performers her age. The purple dress moved with her, like a living extension of her body, the flowing fabric emphasizing each movement and creating beautiful lines. A particularly challenging sequence of turns drew spontaneous applause from the audience. Chloe executed 5 consecutive pirouettes, maintaining perfect form throughout, then transitioned smoothly into a series of leaps that seemed to defy gravity. Her facial expressions conveyed the emotional narrative of the piece without ever appearing forced or theatrical. I glanced at the judges. All 3 were watching intently, making extensive notes. One leaned forward in her seat, completely absorbed in the performance. Another nodded slightly at a particularly impressive movement. As Chloe executed her final dramatic pose, holding a breathtaking arabesque as the music faded, the audience erupted into applause. People rose to their feet in a spontaneous standing ovation. Chloe's face broke into a radiant smile as she acknowledged the audience with a graceful bow. Backstage, I embraced her words, failing me completely. Anya was right behind me, her professional demeanor momentarily forgotten as she hugged Chloe with genuine emotion. "That was beyond anything we practiced," she whispered to Chloe. "You transcended the choreography." Other competitors and their parents came forward with congratulations. Even the twins approached, offering sincere compliments despite their mother's glowering presence several feet away. "Your dress is beautiful," Kaylee said quietly, "and your dancing was amazing." "Thanks," Chloe replied warmly. "You guys did great too." The award ceremony was scheduled for an hour later. We used the time to change Chloe back into her street clothes and rehydrate after her intense performance. Brenda kept her distance, speaking in hushed tones with the twins and occasionally shooting dark looks in our direction. When the results were announced, the tension was palpable. The judge began with honorable mentions, then moved to third place, then second. Chloe squeezed my hand tightly as we waited. First place in the junior contemporary division with a special recognition for artistic expression goes to Chloe Mitchell. The audience applauded enthusiastically as Chloe stepped forward to receive her trophy and certificate. The special recognition was particularly significant as it came with additional scholarship funds and an invitation to a prestigious summer intensive program. Brenda immediately approached the competition director, gesturing emphatically and pointing in our direction. I moved closer to hear her complaint. The costume she performed in wasn't the one registered with her application, Brenda was insisting. That's a clear violation of the rules. Her placement should be reconsidered. The director, a veteran of dance competitions with over 20 years of experience, regarded Brenda with a patient but firm expression. Mrs. Miller, the rules allow for costume changes in case of damage or malfunction. They simply need to be approved by the stage manager, which Chloe's was. There's no violation. But she gained an unfair advantage by surprising the judges with a different look than her competitors expected, Brenda persisted. The judges score on technique, artistry, and overall performance quality, not on meeting competitors' expectations. The director replied, ending the conversation by turning to congratulate Chloe personally. Brenda's face flushed with anger. She collected her twins and stormed out before the ceremony concluded, leaving Mark, who had arrived during Chloe's performance, looking confused and embarrassed. Other parents and competitors continued to approach Chloe with congratulations and questions about her training. Several younger dancers asked for photos with her, treating her like a celebrity. Anya was approached by parents inquiring about lessons, clearly impressed by her students' success. The victory was sweet, but what moved me most was watching Chloe handle it with genuine grace. She thanked everyone, sincerely credited Anya's mentorship, and made a point of complimenting other dancers on their performances. My daughter wasn't just a talented dancer, she was becoming a remarkable young woman. That evening, we celebrated Chloe's victory at her favorite restaurant, an Italian place called Giovanni's that made her beloved mushroom ravioli. David had arrived just in time to see Chloe's performance and was now hearing the full story of Brenda's sabotage and our countermeasures. I still can't believe she would go that far, he said, shaking his head in disbelief, over a children's dance competition. It wasn't just about the competition for her, I explained. It's about this narrative she's created where her children have to be better than everyone else's, especially family. Chloe was enjoying her moment of triumph, but I noticed she wasn't gloating or dwelling on Brenda's defeat. Instead, she was excitedly discussing the summer intensive program she'd been invited to attend as part of her prize package. Anya says some of the instructors come from major ballet companies, she explained, eyes shining. We might even get to work with a choreographer from the New York City Ballet. David's phone rang, interrupting our celebration. He checked the caller ID and grimaced. It's Mark, he said, stepping away from the table to take the call. He returned a few minutes later with a somber expression. Mark wanted to apologize for Brenda's behavior. He says he had no idea she would do something like that, and he's pretty upset with her. Did he actually believe it happened? I asked skeptically. Mark had a history of making excuses for his wife's behavior. He said he saw the torn dress backstage after everyone left, and apparently Kaylee told him what really happened. David looked meaningfully at Chloe. It seems your cousins aren't entirely happy with their mother's methods. This new information made me reconsider the twins. Perhaps they were struggling under Brenda's intense pressure and expectations. It couldn't be easy having a mother who valued winning above integrity. Over the next few days, Chloe's performance video, which Anya had professionally recorded, began circulating in the local dance community. The studio's social media page featured her victory, leading to an influx of inquiries from parents of prospective students. Chloe was becoming something of a celebrity in our regional dance world. Even more exciting was an email from the prestigious Westridge Dance Academy expressing interest in Chloe. They had representatives at the competition and were impressed by her performance quality and artistic maturity. While she was still too young for their full-time program, they invited her to audition for their junior associate program, which would provide advanced training alongside her regular studio classes. A week after the competition, I received a surprising text message from Kaylee, Brenda's daughter. "Can Chloe still come to our birthday party next month? We really want her there, even if Mom is being weird about everything." This led to a complicated conversation with David about how to handle our relationship with Mark's family going forward. We agreed that cutting off contact entirely would punish the twins for their mother's actions, but we needed clear boundaries with Brenda. "I think we need a family meeting," David suggested. "Mark, you, me, and Brenda. We need to address what happened directly." The meeting was as uncomfortable as expected. We gathered at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop midway between our homes. Mark began with another apology for Brenda's behavior, but when pressed, Brenda refused to admit any deliberate wrongdoing. "Accidents happen at competitions all the time," she insisted, though her eyes couldn't quite meet mine. "I think Jessica is blowing this out of proportion because Chloe won and she wants to make me look bad." "Brenda," Mark said firmly, surprising me with his directness. "Kaylee told me she heard you say Chloe's dress ripping would ensure our girls would win. She was upset about it." Brenda's face flushed. "Kaylee misunderstood. I was just trying to boost her confidence." The conversation continued in circles with Brenda deflecting and minimizing, while Mark made increasingly frustrated attempts to mediate. Finally, David intervened with his characteristic practicality. "Look, what's done is done. Chloe succeeded despite what happened. But going forward, we need some ground rules for family interactions around competitions. The girls are cousins first, competitors second. Their relationship shouldn't be poisoned by adult conflicts." We established some basic boundaries. No unsupervised interaction between Brenda and Chloe's competition materials. Advanced notice if the girls would be competing in the same events, and a cooling-off period for family gatherings around major competitions. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Our relationship with Mark's family became more distant for a time. Holiday gatherings were polite but strained. The twins, however, seemed eager to maintain their connection with Chloe. They began texting her regularly, sometimes asking for advice about dance techniques or music selections for their routines. I suspected this communication happened without Brenda's knowledge. Meanwhile, Chloe's dance career flourished. The $5,000 scholarship from the competition allowed us to invest in additional training opportunities we couldn't have afforded otherwise. She attended weekend workshops with guest instructors and began private lessons focusing on her point work, which Anya identified as an area with professional potential. Chloe also developed new friendships with dancers she'd met at the competition. The Diaz family lived close enough that Mia and Chloe began carpooling to a weekly advanced technique class at a neighboring studio. The girls supported rather than competed with each other, each recognizing the other's unique strengths. What touched me most was watching Chloe begin to mentor younger dancers at her studio. Anya occasionally asked her to demonstrate for the beginner classes, and Chloe showed remarkable patience and encouragement with the nervous 7- and 8-year-olds. She seemed to instinctively understand how to correct without criticizing a skill some adult instructors never mastered. "You're good with the little ones," I observed after watching her help a frustrated young dancer master a basic combination. Chloe smiled thoughtfully. "I remember how it feels when something seems impossible, and then one day it just clicks. I want to help them get to that moment faster." I recognized in that simple statement the mature perspective that had allowed her to handle Brenda's sabotage with such composure. My daughter understood that success wasn't about defeating others, but about overcoming challenges, including those presented by difficult people. 6 months after the competition incident, the changes in our family dynamics had largely stabilized into a new normal. Chloe continued to excel in dance with multiple successful performances and competition placements. The purple dress had become something of a lucky charm, carefully preserved for special occasions. Mark had made concerted efforts to repair the damage to our sibling relationship. He began calling more regularly and occasionally visited with just the twins without Brenda. During one such visit, he confided that the competition incident had forced him to recognize patterns in Brenda's behavior he'd been ignoring for years. "I've insisted she start therapy," he told me quietly while the kids were playing in the backyard. She resisted at first, but after Haley threatened to quit dance entirely, she finally agreed. The therapist thinks there's some deep-seated insecurity driving her competitiveness. I was skeptical, but hopeful that professional help might lead to positive changes for the twins' sake if nothing else. Brenda herself remained distant, but there had been small signs of improvement. After Chloe won another significant competition, Brenda had sent a brief but seemingly sincere congratulatory text. When they encountered each other at regional dance events, Brenda was unfailingly polite, if somewhat stiff. It wasn't friendship, but it was civilized coexistence. More surprisingly, the twins had developed a genuine admiration for Chloe. They began asking her for advice about their choreography and technique, sometimes even sharing videos of their practices for her feedback. Away from their mother's influence, Haley and Kaylee were actually sweet, funny girls with their own unique talents. Haley had a particular gift for hip-hop styles that Brenda had previously discouraged as undignified. Chloe had been selected for the prestigious summer dance program connected to her competition win. The 5-week intensive would be her first extended time away from home, a prospect that filled me with both pride and maternal anxiety. We spent weeks preparing shopping for dance supplies and dormitory necessities, discussing homesickness strategies and communication plans. The night before her departure, I found Chloe sitting on her bed looking thoughtfully at both her competition dresses displayed on her wall. "Penny, for your thoughts?" I asked, sitting beside her. "I was just thinking about how differently everything could have turned out," she replied. "If Aunt Brenda hadn't ripped my dress, I might never have worn the purple one. And the judges really loved that costume." "That's true," I acknowledged, "though I think they loved your dancing more than any costume." Chloe nodded. "But it taught me something important. Anya always says preparation is key, but now I really understand why. Having a backup plan gave me confidence. I wasn't dancing scared." Her insight struck me as remarkably mature. That's a valuable lesson to learn at your age. Some adults never figure that out. "The funny thing is," Chloe continued, "now whenever something goes wrong before a performance, I'm not even nervous. I just think, well, it can't be worse than having your dress deliberately ripped by your aunt." She giggled, the incident having transformed from a crisis into a family inside joke. I laughed with her, marveling at her resilience. "You handled that situation better than I did. I was falling apart and you were problem-solving." "That's because you're my mom. You're supposed to get upset when someone hurts me," she said, leaning against my shoulder. But I knew we'd figure it out together. The dress incident had become a reference point in our family vocabulary. Whenever we faced a challenge or setback, someone would inevitably say, "Well, at least no one ripped your dress," our shorthand for keeping perspective during difficulties. Even Brenda's behavior had gradually improved. At a recent family gathering, she had actually complimented Chloe's performance in a spring showcase, and the praise seemed genuine. The twins confided that their mother's therapy appeared to be helping, though they rolled their eyes at her new mantra about healthy competition. Chloe's dance teacher Anya had used the incident as a teaching moment for all her competitive students, emphasizing the importance of sportsmanship and preparation, without specifically mentioning Brenda. "Control what you can control, and have contingency plans for what you can't," became her frequent reminder before competitions. As for Chloe herself, the experience had accelerated her maturity in ways both obvious and subtle. She approached challenges with a calm confidence beyond her years. When a prop malfunctioned during a subsequent performance, she had improvised so smoothly that judges commented specifically on her professional handling of the situation. Perhaps most beautifully, Chloe had developed her own philosophy about competition that she shared with younger dancers at her studio. "Dancing isn't about beating others," she would tell them. "It's about becoming better than you were yesterday." Looking back, the torn dress had revealed much more than Brenda's jealousy. It had exposed Chloe's character, my own protective instincts, and the strength of our mother-daughter bond. It had shown us that sometimes the most significant victories happen backstage, in how we respond to challenges, rather than in the spotlight of public recognition. Now watching Chloe pack her dance shoes for the summer program that represented the next step in her journey, I felt profound gratitude for the unlikely gift Brenda had unknowingly given us. In trying to break Chloe's spirit, she had instead revealed its remarkable strength. Chloe caught me watching her and smiled, holding up her purple dress one last time before carefully folding it into her suitcase. For luck, she explained. But we both knew luck had nothing to do with her success. It was preparation, perseverance, and the quiet confidence that comes from weathering a storm and emerging stronger on the other side. The practical lesson here is powerful. You can't control what other people do, but you can always control how you prepare and how you react. The best revenge isn't getting even. It's achieving your goals with grace and integrity, proving that their attempts to tear you down only made you stronger. Always have a plan B, not because you expect to fail, but because you are determined to succeed, no matter what obstacles are thrown in your way. What challenges have your children faced that revealed their unexpected strengths? Has a difficult person in your life ever inadvertently taught you an important lesson? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more family stories about overcoming obstacles and finding success in surprising places. And if you know someone dealing with a competitive family member, share this video with them. Sometimes knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. Thank you for watching, and remember, preparation beats sabotage every time.